Hey guys, Suze from Smart in Coaching, just here to unpack another channel as it's coming in today. Just quickly about me, I'm Suze. I'm an intuitive life coach and a Reiki practitioner, and I like to dabble in tarot here and there. I really see things as energy. I see the world as energy. I see people as energy, and that's where I'm at with everything at the moment. That's how I don't know. That's how I've always been, but I've started to learn how to tap into that now. So I wanted to share some things today because at Smart in Coaching, my motto is, if I can just help one person today. And the way that I want to do it is by maybe giving you a different perspective, encouraging you to see a bigger picture, a wider picture, take a view from further back, take a view from further in, whatever it is that you need to do. And I hope that my channels and sharing those channels might help you the way that people have helped me to open up and become my fullest self. So I saw today the most amazing thing that is explaining what is happening to so many people in and around my life at the moment and has happened to me, and I'm watching it all happen in real time. And that is people being dramatically expelled from their life as they know it, right? I'm not talking about death. That's not where I'm coming from. It's the dramatic change, the seemingly 180 that's happened, or the essentially moving from one country to another country where you don't know the language and you don't know what's happening, and all of a sudden the next day you're there and it's like, what is happening? So how it's coming to me in the channel that I received this morning, I received lots of things in this small window of time, and I saw in my mind's eye the picture of a large bow and an arrow. And I've talked about the pull back before the launch forward in many of my videos beforehand, and I've often seen this bow and arrow, but today I saw it totally different. The bow was massive, the arrow not as massive, but it was pulled back and it had launched, was just in the process of launching, and I saw this cute little cartoon guy holding on to the arrow, but he had his arm around the string on the bow as well, right? And so when the bow released the arrow sort of went, and the little guy was holding on, trying to hold on to everything. So he didn't launch with the arrow. He didn't go anywhere. He held the arrow up, he held on to everything, and it was a disastrous mess, right? And so I saw that as the metaphor of trying to hang on when life is trying to expel you, push you out, give you the big push that's probably going to skip you over a couple of steps that you think that you need to go through, right? He looked in pain and frustrated and sad and scared and all of the emotions that you would feel when you are trying to be expelled from your life and you're hanging on for dear life, right? So quite painful. So we are all that little guy at some different point in time, you know. Sometimes you will know that you're not where you're meant to be, your job, your relationship, your situations, your town, your house, your all sorts of things. You could put anything in this scenario, right? You get the little things, you get the niggles, you know, you're starting to feel a bit uncomfortable, you're starting to feel a bit like this is not right, I don't belong here anymore, what used to work for me isn't working for me now, you're getting a little feeling of itchy feet, you know what I'm talking about, right? And so what happens then is you start to, I don't know, look a little bit further afield for stuff, however that happens to look. And you start to realise that maybe there's other things that you want. But then you stop that little excitedness that you get, right? And you start to think, oh, but the job pays well and it's got benefits and at least it's covering the rent, and oh, this, oh, that, or the relationship, oh, well, you know, at least this isn't happening. At least it's not as bad as such and such as, or it could be worse, or any number of things. The friendship group, the house, oh, you'll make do, and oh, I don't really want to have to pack it up and go through everything, so I'm going to stay here. And oh, you know, I guess it doesn't matter that I've got 7 rooms and all the kids have moved out now and I don't really need 7 rooms, but oh, it's all right. I'll just keep cleaning it. I'll just keep doing whatever. I'll just keep walking past all those empty rooms and feeling sad, or whatever it is, right? I just like to throw some things out there just to get your mind ticking as to how this could be happening for you. And so all of a sudden you hang on, not only to the arrow, but to the bowstring. And so when life tries to launch you forward, when the opportunities start to come, when things start to seem to line up for what you really think that you want outside of what you've got, you get the scareds and you get realize that you're going to have to get out of that comfort zone, and you're going to have to do some things differently, and you are going to have to sort through that stuff, and you are going to have the tears and say goodbye to that house, or you are going to have to say goodbye to that relationship, or you are going to have to move from that job, and that may need you to do a lot of extra things, you know, work up a resume, get people to give you written or verbal, you know, anything. You're going to have to put in some work and show that you really want to move forward, right? And it is scary because you're going into the unknown and you're doing stuff that you just aren't even in the realm of your known or what you think is possible. Because that's the thing with us, right? Our mind and our brain and our what we are to this point are all from what's happened previously. So you can't, I liken it to when I was pregnant with each of my kids. I've got 4 kids. When I was pregnant with each of my kids, the first one, not so much because it's all brand new and it's all different, and I was in a really rocky place when that happened for me. But the second, third and fourth ones, I could never see them. And they were inside me, and I knew this child was whatever sex it was or whatever was happening, and I was very attached. I love my kids, but I couldn't envision what it was going to be like with them because I'd never had them, you know. I'd never had 2 kids, so I couldn't envision what 2 kids looked like. When I had the third one, same thing. Never met this child, don't know who they are, can't envision my life with 3 kids, and the same for the fourth. And the same for many things in my life when I've done dramatic career shifts, and I've done some of those in my life. When I moved from one side of Australia, and to the other with just my husband and a car full of whatever we could fit in the car, and just left everything. You know, big 180 shifts, they're scary, right? And we can try to hang on to the old whilst going into the new. And that's what's happening to a lot of people now. People are still coming to terms with the 2020s are just literally the decade of WTF, right? And the WTFs keep on coming. So what do? Do you wait for them to stop, or do you get yourself a new equilibrium to work out, right, we need to be able to still live because it's a whole decade. You don't just want to miss a decade just sitting and waiting for it all to calm down, right? Because you're going to miss everything. So the opportunities are coming for you to expel out of the old that, like I said, you don't like the job, you don't like you know these things you've outgrown, right? And they don't suit you anymore, or they did and they don't anymore, or you're phasing out of them, or a new season is about to enter, and you are the epitome of the tree in autumn dropping its leaves, right? So you're going to end up sore because you're hanging on to both the arrow and the bowstring. So what I'm suggesting in this thing is that you need to let go, right? You need to let go of that string and let that arrow take you forward, because it's going to happen with or without you. It's whether you're going to turn up battered and bruised and scared and discombobulated, or whether you come in there and you're just like, right, I just need to let go and let this happen. I just need to land. Right, open my eyes up and look around and see the possibilities. Does all of that make sense? So sometimes then if we do land, and we land with injuries and with war wounds and with skin hanging off and things like that, right? The idea is to let the wounds heal and not pick at them. And I was shown, you know, it takes time for skin to heal. It takes time for bones to heal. It takes time for anything that's broken or changed in form to heal over and become new again, right? And I was then shown a scab on the elbow, and the elbow, hey, we bend, right? We need to bend in life. We need to be able to pivot. We need to be able to move with things. We aren't just, you know, like an arm bone that doesn't move, right? That's the parts of us that don't move, but we need to have the bits of us that do move and can pivot and turn and change up to with all the WTFs that are happening in the 2020 decade, right? And so what happens when you get a scab? Like, the initial wound is sore and it hurts and it's awful, and then it starts to scab over and it starts to feel better, right? And it starts to feel good. But after a couple of days, as that scab tightens and it starts to heal, it gets itchy. And we get tempted to scratch it off, pick at it, itch it just that little bit, just that little edge, right? Just that little. And then all of a sudden we have re-injured what was healing and we have delayed the healing, and we have made it uncomfortable, and we've made a bigger mess, a bigger scar, or whatever, right? So put that in as a metaphor to whatever's happening in your life, right? Don't scratch. It's going to feel uncomfortable and itchy, and it's going to feel tight. It's going to feel all sorts of ways when you've come out and been expelled from your life, right? It's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel like you want to go back. You're going to feel like, oh, this is too much. You're going to feel like you want to just sit in a heap and have a pity party for like the next 7 years until it's all over. You're going to feel all sorts of ways, and it's okay because you are feeling that sort of way, so that's okay. But what it is you need to feel that, but then you need to work out how you can recalibrate in the moment to be able to get through this thing, to be able to live with the itch of the scab without scratching at said scab, right? Without wrecking it. Now, there are times when we have pulled the scab off before it's ready. Have you ever done that? And it's just like, here we go again. There are times when we may have a broken bone or a sore wrist or something, and we've gone in so far into the healing process, and all of a sudden we do something crazy and we re-injure it back to how it was or worse than what it was, right? I liken this now, as it's coming to me now, as getting so far in that expulsion, you've been expelled, but then going back. You know, you can go back to things, right? You can experience a death and go through all the grief. You can experience a loss. You can experience all sorts of things. And then you can believe that you can go back, right, to things and be that person before all of that happened, right? But that's not the thing. 9 times out of 10, when we scratch that scab off and we try and go back to the life we had, the ways that we had, the coping mechanisms we used to use, the viewpoints that we used to see before we knew A, B, C, D, and E extra onto the viewpoint, right? If you try and go back, you will realize that you cannot go back. You won't fit there anymore. You don't fit there anymore because things have changed and you have recalibrated and you've redone stuff. Like, you don't fit there. That's why the scab feels uncomfortable, feels yucky, you've ripped it off. Now the whole thing's got to start again. So now you're back there and you're sad because it doesn't feel right. You go back to that relationship and it's like, oh, it doesn't feel like it did. It never will, That job's never going to feel the same. That house that you were supposed to leave, it's not made for you anymore. It's like going back and putting on your size 2 shoes when you're a size 5 foot. You cannot possibly do that comfortably. You need to let that scab heal. You need to recalibrate yourself in the new. Where you've landed, look around. Don't look around scared. Look around as, what are the possibilities, right? What can I do? How can this serve me better, right? And then if I liken it back to the seasons again and that tree that's dropping its leaves, you'll go through that period where you need to find yourself again, find how you are in this situation, how you can be, how you are without all that past stuff. And then all of a sudden, after that cold winter, the spring comes and there'll be some green in that tree and the new leaves will start to grow. You will start to feel a little more comfortable, a little less frazzled, a little less like you've just landed on your ass 5 miles ahead of whatever you thought you were going to be at. And you'll start to settle in and you'll start to find new ways to be and new ways to express yourself and new ways to feel joy. And gradually, you're going to look back less. You're going to be here more. You're going to see some potential in the future, but you're going to be able to sit here in the now and be comfortable. And that's when the scab comes off all by itself and suddenly that's healed, perhaps not without a scar, perhaps with a bigger scar because you picked it off 7 times and went back 7 times and changed your mind 7 times and tried to fit back. Do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden you'll find that you're there. When you're not meant to be in your life anymore as it is, no matter how much you dig in, hold on to that bow string, no matter how much, eventually you're going to have to let go because you're going to cut yourself so badly that you're going to have to let go and you're going to plonk down and you're going to be in a worse state when you plonk down then because you didn't get that push forward that arrow was going to give you. Gosh, I hope this makes sense. I don't know how many people get to the end of my videos. I don't know how many people it resonates with. But if it resonates with just one person, if it gives somebody hope, right, in the middle of their hopelessness, That's all that I do this for. That's all that I do it for. I love to share things that might be helpful, that might give you something else to think about. Our mind can stay stuck because, like I said, it's a record keeper of what's been before us. You can't plan your future on what's already been if you want your future to be different or better or filled with things that you've never experienced before. It's always going to feel scary. It's always going to feel like a launch. But eventually, if you can hang on to the bow, smile, close your eyes, and just let it take you wherever it's going to take you. Let it land, open your eyes, and take a look around with wonder and curiosity. You're going to enjoy your life a whole heck of a lot better, because there's a whole heap more WTFs to come in the 2020 decade. So it's about time that we settled in for the ride, found the best way that we can do it, with a smile on our face, even though we're crying sometimes. You can do this. All right, I'm Susan Smarting Coaching. Thank you for joining me. If you think this might help someone, share it, please. If you liked it or got something from it, give it a like. I don't know, write a comment if it made you think of anything. And I would love to see you again in the next one. Okay, take care.